Hello, everyone. My name is Jordyn Smith, and I am the voice and the astrologer for this YouTube channel, Nonconformist Conscience. And today, for this episode of the Arcane Astrology Talks, I have my dear friend, who I've known for a few years now, Louise
Mm.
Edington. And today, she is going to be talking about Chariklo. And I'm really excited for this conversation. I have had people on my channel asked me to actually talk about Chariklo, Louise, and I don't know anything about her other than it was Chiron, she was Chiron's wife. Um, and so I'm really excited for you to be doing this talk today for everyone so that they can get to know
Mhm.
more about this asteroid. So I'm going to let you take it away, and I want you to let everyone know who you are and yeah, and then just let her rip. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Of course. Well, I'm Louise Edington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology. You can find me everywhere if you search Cosmic Owl Astrology, Facebook, various places. And so um, I came across, or Chariklo came into my life, I should say, when I had my Chariklo return at age 62. And she's actually a centaur, although, astronomers cannot decide what to do with these creatures because she's actually got rings as a planet.
Oh, wow.
So she could be a dwarf planet, even. They're very unusual energies, these centaurs. And Chariklo is Chiron's wife. So where to start? Where to start? Well, I'm going to tell you the story of how she found me. So I said it was on my Chariklo return. Well, her name literally means spinner of grace. I always get a big visual when I think of Chariklo as her sitting there, weaving and spinning very graceful energy, just holding space for healing. And that's one of her gifts, that she is a space holder. And so I had picked the word grace from my word of the year that year. And then I discovered her. This is how these centaurs work within us, to be quite honest. We come across them when they're needed in our lives. So as part of this, I have given Jordyn a link to a free mini kind of Chariklo through the signs thing. I did little videos for each sign and a PDF of the dates so you can find it. So anybody that's listening to this is probably going to find Chariklo at the right time. So that's the start.
Yes.
But but the story of Chariklo is even more astounding. So I'm going to share her discovery chart, right? So Chariklo was discovered on February the 14th or 15th, depending which country you're in, on 1997. And Chariklo is very much associated with kind of that doula energy of birth and death, right? She's often very strong in the personal charts of somebody that ends up nursing, say, their partner through a terminal illness, things like that. Because if you think about the story of the myth, she was Chariklo's wife. She is a shapeshifter. She was a nymph, but then he was the son of a nymph as well. But she shapeshifted into being a half man, half human, half woman, half human, I guess, and half animal. So that they could be married, and then after Chiron was wounded and his wound would not heal, guess who would midwife him or doula him and take care of him till he gave up his immortality for Prometheus. If anybody wants to know the full myth, that's everywhere online, but I've got so much to say, I don't want to go into too much detail. But this is her beautiful discovery chart. Melanie Reinhardt, astrologer, I've interviewed her a couple of times and listened to everything I could that she's talked about Chariklo. Um, kind of, she discovered Chariklo on this discovery, and I just want everybody really to first soak up this Star of David pattern, this almost perfect chart that's just pure beautiful. But that date as well is probably the exact date, well, the Friday in the UK, where I went to the oncologist with my mother and father and found out my father was, he had glioblastoma and was not going to live out the year. So, I mean, it's years ago now, it's okay.
Yeah.
but then, but then in even more astounding, kind of energy, I also went home from finding that out, said to my then boyfriend, we lived together. Can we get married? I'm the only daughter and we wanted kids. So shall we just come off the pill now? So in that year, 1997, I literally had birth, marriage, and death. My dad died on October the 1st. My daughter was born on October the 2nd, sorry, November the 2nd. And we got married on March the 21st.
Oh
And
my
and
gosh.
so, she activated my chart. I'm not going to say how she activated my chart personally.
Yeah.
But, on her discovery date, she literally brought birth, marriage, and death into my life. She is just this most astounding energy. But looking at her discovery chart, I'd love people. I'm going to draw some lines because I know I add a lot to the charts that.
Yes. And Louise, would you show everyone
Mm,
where she's at in this
mm,
chart? Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So Chariklo was discovered at 6 degrees 04 Leo. So this is her symbol here. This is her beautiful symbol. This happens to be the North Node of the USA as well. So, this is
Wow.
kind of like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to kind of focus on that for today. And then we have the moon over here in Gemini. And notice that this is a fire sign, Leo. This is an air sign, so called masculine signs, right? Okay. Then over here we have Saturn in Aries, another fire masculine sign. And then look at all of this in Aquarius, right? So, we have opposing where she was discovered. We have Jupiter, Uranus, and Ceres, and Mercury as well. But we have all this Aquarius stuff as we have just got Pluto moving into Aquarius. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I think she's helping us birth this new paradigm we're moving into. Then over here, we have, that's an air sign, by the way, for those that are not, astrologically knowledgeable. And this is Pluto here in Sagittarius, the fire sign. Then we have Mars over here in Libra. Now, to me, this screams of kind of death to the patriarchy in many ways, because we have, even though Saturn, the planet, is actually quite feminine in nature, because as the ruler of Capricorn, it's been associated with the man-made rules and the patriarchy, for want of a better word. Over here we have Mars, which is the masculine energy in the chart, and then Pluto is the bringer of great transformation and death and rebirth, and the moon is opposing Pluto, and they're both very kind of soul emotional kind of objects. Pluto has been discovered to have a heart and does bring great emotional transformation within. So, and then over here we just have this Jupiter expansion, Uranus bringer of radical change, rebellion, revolution, whatever you want to call it. But my favorite thing is that Ceres, the great mother, is exactly opposing Chariklo in this chart. And she is associated with grief, loss, forgiveness, but also how we live on the earth. And I think we can see that since this discovery, and especially now we're kind of reaching a peak, we are discovering that how we live on the earth, treat each other, and under these hierarchical control and dominator cultures is just going to kill us if we don't change, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to get away from the masculine kind of feminine energy, all this fire and air really brings new innovation and new ideas as well. It's not, it's not just masculine energy. It's like the passion, it's passionate change, and the winds of change and fire of change. And well, we can see how that's kind of showing up at the moment in the fires in Los Angeles as we record. And so, moving on a little bit, do you have any questions at this point? Because I will just go off on tangents.
Well, I
You can
do
draw
know
me back in.
me and we both have a bit of Saggy influences in our natal chart. So I think this will be great. The thing that sticks out is I love that we're talking about this discovery chart is in its nodal opposition right now. And we're about to have
Yes.
Saturn enter into Aries. We have Ceres in Aquarius right now. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like that Mars, trining that moon in this chart is really speaking to something that you touched on, but you didn't use these words exactly. But to me, Ceres and Charliko are really speaking to a need for unity and diversity is what
Mhm.
that Mars, trine the moon is speaking to. And to get into this embodiment of our emotionality, to experience that fully, to experience the grace of that. And I also think it's interesting with this series and this chart opposing Carlico is this where we've lost community and where we're needing to
Yes.
bring it back forth through the unity and diversity. And so I just feel like this is so resonant with what's going on right now. And I love that we're talking about this during this nodal opposition occurring in this chart. So that's really what I wanted to speak to as you were talking.
Yeah. And I'm kind of going to show a little bit of how it's showing up now, but you've got it exactly right. This speaks to me of, embracing diversity, embracing community and connection, and kind of coming back together again. There's been so many activations that I could go on and on and on,
Yeah.
but one of them is that Mars recently stationed retrograde at 6
Yeah.
Leo, right? Which, yeah, I was like, whoa, of course, that's a discovery degree. So I want to take you through a few of the activations and kind of take you through to 2026, if you like, and show you somewhere where we're really going. So I'm going to clear off the drawings, and you'll get a quick. And if I go too fast, just pull me back in and go, wait, what was
No,
that?
you're
Because
fine. Yeah,
just like
I will.
so. So this really, to my mind, kicked off when Chariklo had her opposition. So she had kind of like her full moon, if you like, from when she was discovered. Sorry, I'm just getting her up. So that was at the end of December 2022. Chariklo, to draw my lines again, just so to show people, reached 6 Aquarius and opposed where she was. Now, all planets, everything in astrology is about cycles, really, and so this would have been something coming to fruition that was seeded on her discovery chart, you could say. And so I think it became really evident at the, like, some of us knew all along, but it was becoming even more evident that we are in crisis, and it's reaching its peak. We're ignoring what we're doing to the planet. We're ignoring what we're doing to each other. We're ignoring what we're doing in diversity. But like all things like that, that kind of full moon energy also brings to light what's wrong more. So,
Yeah.
so it doesn't unfold. We're not going to figure it all out in a minute, right? Unfortunately, I'd love it if we could.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
No, no. So, this was a powerful, powerful moment when Chariklo had her opposition. I actually have Chariklo in Aquarius, by the way. It's 3 Aquarius, so that's why she was speaking to me. So,
I just, I,
so
I do want to
mm,
say this is kind of Kesmet a little bit. Um,
mm,
I am now wanting to know where mine is because I ended up taking care of my stepfather whenever he had cancer. And I was
mm,
actually
mm.
pregnant with my son Zeppelin at the time.
Okay.
And the date that you have for this transit is the day that he died, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, yeah, it's interesting that you brought up even your own story and then
Mm.
my dog, sorry. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because as you talked about how she came into your life, I was like, whoa, and then you just pulled this chart up and my mind is blown. So
Yeah, yeah. So with the PDF, anybody can just easily find out where their Chariklo is. And then you can find out also where Chariklo was at times like that. If
mhm.
if if for people that are not astrologers and can't add it to their chart, they can go and look at that and they can go, oh, that's where she was when this happened in my life and how it shows up. So,
And
but
so
also it may
whenever
have show up in the natal. Yeah.
whenever you think of those transits that she's being activated even in a personal chart, a natal chart. And this is, I do have to say, that's the anniversary of my stepdad's death. I looked at the year, sorry. But still coincidental. Um,
Mm.
but whenever in your experience, when you see a major transit happen in someone's chart with her, what are the themes that you usually see um that it's speaking to a cycle of for them?
I think it often shows up as something in their life is being um, activated that calls on the person to step into that energy of grace and realize that sometimes you have to be a space holder for others, and sometimes you have to kind of step into that whole space holding graceful energy. I do actually have another example before I knew of her. I'm trained as a shamanic practitioner, and I am actually trained as a death doula, but I don't practice it. But my neighbor was dying of cancer. She got lung cancer. Um, no, she got breast cancer for the second time. It spread to her lungs. But anyway, for some reason, I just felt called to go and say, hey, I do this thing and it might just help ease things for you. And so from that moment, I kind of accompanied her. I would go over every day, we'd do shamanic journeys together. I would do the practice of tethering her and guiding her to the other side. And she went from being a complete atheist to who was scared to leave her 2 young children because they were quite young at the time, to having a very peaceful death and being ready for it. And honestly, it was guided. It was not
Yeah,
me. It was just, and I have looked at the transits. I can't remember what they were at the time, but Chariklo was active at that moment.
that
Now, I'm
speaks
not
so
saying
much to
everybody
your
would go and be,
that speaks
yeah,
to your Charliko for because you said that it's also an Aquarius, right? And I
yes,
love
yeah,
what you just said is you're like, it wasn't me, it was guided. One, like
mhm,
Aquarius, the higher intelligence, but two, it's the co-creation that you pull in with the Leonian. I find when people are really integrating the polarity, it becomes magnificent. And so to
yes,
me, I feel like that's you're really speaking to that principle in your own chart. Also, your Sag, I'm going to bring that up, helping
yeah,
someone journey, but I love that you have the humility around this was this was divinely inspired because Aquarius is that higher intelligence that we get locked into whenever we have that humility, I feel like that really helps us guide and birth this co-creative process. So I
Yeah,
love that story. Thank you for sharing it.
yeah, and I agree about the energy of Aquarius. I see it as that very quantum energy of just responding to what's what's happening, and how
Yeah.
you respond matters. So, I just had this urge to go and say, hey, you know, I do this thing. And she was like, yes, I'd love to give it a try. And it just developed from there. And I didn't make it a big thing. And as she opened up and became willing to seeing a different way of seeing things, which is also very Aquarius. It
Yeah.
just goes, and I've never felt called to do it again. And who knows, I might at some point. But I have a feeling if it happens, Chariklo will be there. So,
Yeah. It's like you
yeah,
planted some seeds like on her journey out. And I definitely think of Aquarius as a seed planter, you know?
yeah,
Um, so
me, me
beautiful.
too. So I did want to go to where we're at today because I see Chariklo's role in our opportunity, I'm going to call it, for collective healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Chariklo is still back in Aquarius because she has this 62-year orbit. So she's going to be there for a little while. She's now at 16 Aquarius. She has just crossed the Venus in her discovery chart. So we're really kind of looking to heal our relationships with each other in a collective in many ways, and also realize that we're co-creating the future because Venus is very creative energy and Aquarius is the future, and that's our hopes and wishes and dreams for the future. But look at where Ceres is now as well, and she's about to come up and conjunct Chariklo soon. So the fires, by the time some people listen to this, hopefully the fires will be out. But this was unprecedented. These winds and everything coming through, the lack of water, a lot of it was to do with climate change because California's had something like 2% of the normal rainfall. I feel, and I'm sure for people on the ground, if people listen now, sending you all love. But I feel collectively this is one big message to humanity about how we are living again with each other and with the earth, and
Agreed.
how we've got to co-create a better future. And so, this is going to come up and they're going to be conjunct Ceres, the goddess who, in the myth, she actually kind of killed the harvest after her daughter disappeared into the underworld. And I kind of see Venus as Persephone for that. So Chariklo's series is also going to come up and cross Venus. And so we're just getting these archetypal um, big messages about integration.
Agreed.
Because if anybody knows the Demeter Persephone myth, most of them just talk about the part where she was taken off into the underworld and raped by Hades. There's different versions of the myth, and there's been a lot of retelling of it. But after that, and after in her grief, Ceres killed the harvest. She went off to Eleusina in Greece and founded the Eleusinian Mysteries, where she was reunited with Persephone and the divine child after Persephone had married Hades. And it's really a story of um, loss, grief, separation, and then reunification. And
Yeah.
that's where we are at the moment, I think. And
Agreed.
but I still think we have free will, and are we
I
going to listen to all of this, right?
The one thing that I think is a really beautiful demonstration of this pair right now that you're speaking to is even though there's been so much divisiveness going on, which me and you, we love to talk about these types of things.
Oh, we do. Yeah.
Um, but I think that a really beautiful reflection that's being reflected back is I was actually like crying last night whenever I was watching these videos of, the South African firemen coming here, the
Yes.
Mexican firemen coming here. They're not
Yes.
thinking about the things that have been said about them or the divisiveness. What they're doing is they're showing up for Aquarian community because they know that
Yeah.
we're all part of common humanity. And
Hmm.
so I feel like that they are holding grace on some levels for
Yeah.
us, despite the things that have been said. Um, you know, I think that what they're demonstrating, even with the Pisces energy that's in this chart, is the boundaryless. There are no borders when things like this
Hmm.
happen. It's
Hmm.
just compassion and empathy and grace and coming together as community because we are all, stewards of this world and we should all
Yeah.
have compassion for each other. And so I feel like it's really exemplifying this story of both of these feminine energies of Ceres and Chariklo. So
Yeah. And there's so many elements to that, and that's a really fabulous example. I think one other example that I've witnessed, because I'm very politically involved, as you know,
I know I love
is
it about you, by the way.
is also this energy of, giving our most of our elected leaders some grace, and realizing that we're all human, and stopping trying to expect perfection, but also realizing that we have to play our part and give ourselves grace for not having been involved before. If you kind of want leaders that better represent you and who want to co-create this better world, then you have to play your part, whether it's just electing better people, donating to better people, but it's also about giving grace to the people we already have, even I'm going to say 45, and realizing that he is a very damaged human being. And
Yes.
that doesn't mean it doesn't mean kind of, letting him get away with things. It just means giving some grace and holding space for healing. So,
Yes. The other,
yeah.
1,000%. The other thing that I was thinking of that is indicative of this when we're thinking of our government leaders, there are some really interesting things that the government in California has done, especially with prison reform and recidivism. And so
Mhm.
there's even been firemen who are coming from the prison systems that are helping right now. And I think that that's also a really good demonstration of
Mhm.
this, of having that grace for people that, we could be conditioned to look down upon them. And these are men who are actually really stepping up and wanting to better themselves. And they're doing it through very Virgo-like service right now.
Yeah.
So I wanted
And
to
I,
mention that.
and I think in previously they were just used as kind of free slave labor, but now
Yes.
they get kind of credits on their sentence, and they get other benefits from stepping up. So that's
Yeah.
that coming together.
Yeah.
I think another expression I love to write about Chariklo is about weaving a new story. So that's kind of an example of that. It's kind
Yes.
of like looking at what we already have and kind of how can we make this a different story. Okay, so you know,
Absolutely. Not botching people into a box that you check, and really looking at how dynamic we are as humans, I think.
mm.
So,
And Chariklo is just kind of sitting there, weaving, spinning, helping. us to write this new story. And part of that is looking at the bigger picture, which is very Aquarius. I
Yes.
think we're all being called to look at the bigger picture. You know, yes, it's awful what's happening in Gaza, for example.
Yeah.
And but I think at the moment we're in this peak moment of like almost this you know, um patriarchy versus what's coming kind of
Mm-hmm.
big clash. And it's all this web of geopolitics, of global politics, and it's really complex. And so again, you know, yes, I wish, you know, arms were not sent to Israel, but it's more complex than just that.
Great.
And I, you know, it's just unfortunate that it's always been the way of history that some people get caught up in these massive moments of change, whether it's people dying in the fires in California or losing all their homes, or whether it's Gaza or whether it's in the Ukraine. You know, there's no one answer is the bigger picture point to all
Yeah.
of that right now. So
I definitely
yeah,
think that Uranus and Taurus ruling um these Aquarian energies is like helping us. One, it's wanting a transformation. That's something I feel is an Aquarian Uranian dynamic. But it's the trigger point is having us look at these like fixed energies of where we're stringently holding on to values of the past, right?
yes,
Uranus and
yes,
Taurus. And
yes,
I also think whenever we're talking about global warming and you know humanitarian efforts. This is that Aquarian, Uranus, and Taurus, how we share our resources, how we value them. I think of Taurus as the land, as Gaia on some level, and the
me
need,
too.
yeah, the need for us to, we, we just, had the notes switch and that South Node in Libra was planting seeds for us. That now with the nodes in Virgo, Pisces, it's truly about us doing our due diligence and making change, in the day to day and very Virgo-like. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that Uranus and Taurus still reflecting these energies of Aquarius is very much about us needing to really align with more natural values that are rooted
Yes.
in giving, sharing, and inclusion instead of divisiveness. And it's also when we're thinking of Gaia, I think so often, and not me or you or people who watch our channels, but just in general, people forget that that's a relationship. Like our
Yeah.
world, our earth is sentient and she gives so much to us. And now with Pluto and Aquarius and these Aquarian energies, we're seeing things go on in the atmosphere. That is Aquarian. And so
Yeah.
it's trying to confront us in a very Aquarian jackhammer way, like wake up, what do you
Oh,
got to
it
do
really is.
now? And so I
Yeah.
like the energy of Sirius and Chariklo here because to me it's like yes, we're experiencing the loss, but we're also experiencing the recovery. And it sounds to me from what you've been saying about Chariklo is that she is helping us weave this
Mm.
through emanating more grace. And if we just stop and pause and look around, we can see this happening already. So,
Yeah. So to speak to some of what you mentioned, I agree about Taurus and Gaia, by the way. And at this moment we're in, so for anybody listening and looking back or looking now, we've got these major planetary shifts of outer planets that I'm going to talk to in a minute. We've got all these new planetary discoveries coming in that are telling us something, I think. There's even series about these centaurs that they have. I think it's Andrew Smith who I interviewed on a thing I'm offering that people can email me about if they want to find it. Um, he calls them walkers. He kind of says they've walked in to kind of help us to heal. But anyway, there's so many things. But you mentioned the nodes have just shifted. Well, guess what? Chariklo, her discovery chart is having a reverse nodal return,
Mhm.
which happens every 9.5 years, but it's combined with all these big things. So she has a North Node in Virgo, which is doing meaningful, service oriented things. So her discovery chart is drawing us to that as well. The other astounding thing as we record this on January the 13th, 2025, we're just about to have a full moon, but Uranus is here aspecting the full moon, but this is exactly to the minute 23 degrees, 23 minutes Taurus of Ceres. That's Ceres was discovered right after Uranus. Uranus was the first planet this civilization discovered because of telescopes, and he was discovered in 1781, so that's Uranus. On 1801, January the 1st, Ceres was discovered at 23 degrees, 23 minutes of Taurus. Now, that was right in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. And you know, the Industrial Revolution has accelerated climate change.
Yes.
Even though it's brought us human comforts, it definitely accelerated it. But the good news is, I'm going to, in case people go, oh my God, we're doomed. This moment we're in, Aquarian energy is the energy of fusion. There's all these discoveries of fusion energy, which is clean energy. Some of them are going to come to fruition, some probably won't, but we need fusion energy, and that's what fusion energy is unlimited clean energy. But of course, we've still got the resistance of those that make money from these things.
Yes. Yeah.
But I do believe it will shake out. So
Yeah.
we're
Well,
in
and we have
we're in
that
this
intelligence now too for finding the solutions. I feel like it's really what you're kind of hitting on, you know?
because Aquarius is also science. It's
Yes.
it's innovation. It's new ideas. It's the ability to connect the dots and find these things. I'm not a complete scientist, but I read up on some of it. There's a form of fusion that comes from the oceans
Mhm.
that is under development. So it's not just about nuclear fusion, if people think of that. Then there's solar fusion, which is what the sun does.
Mhm.
We are fueled by solar fusion thanks to the sun.
Yeah.
So I have been really confident that this period, it's going to take quite a few years to shake out because, people really feel like we're doomed at the moment, I find. But I don't think we are. I think people are coming together. The new inventions are coming together. But I think we had to have this peak moment of patriarchy, oligarchy, greed, all those. In fact, I was writing about it this morning. You could say all the seven deadly sins, which, like the seven original planets, are in our face right now,
Yeah.
so that we can say we don't want this anymore, right?
Well, it's that again, the nodes just shifted, and when the nodes
Mhm.
first entered Libra and Aries, Pluto was squaring them at 29.
Yes.
So it really was seeding for this time period. And what that means is, as humans, I think that we're a bit slower to catch up. We're creatures of habit and comfort, and but what it was seeding is that it was confronting us with the extremes in a very Libran-like way. And now we're going to have more extremes through Virgo-like crisis for a little bit in
Mhm.
order to counteract. So it takes an extreme to counteract an extreme. And I think that
Yeah,
you're right. That's like where we're at. But the beauty in this is nothing like a crisis to get community to come together, right? We're already kind of seeing that right now. So Pluto
exactly.
is doing its job in Aquarius, and these nodes are really facilitating this process already off to a jump. It's only been 2 days since they shifted, right? So
Exactly.
here we see it. And I love that we're talking about this, you know, as, you know, she's in her nodal opposition. Like it's wild to me. I love how,
I
you know,
know.
how this always goes. It's,
Yeah. Oh, it always does. Yeah.
I know.
We were kind of meant to talk about this on this day because you
Yes.
and I kind of see things in the same way. So I
I
love that you're kind of bringing out more, verbalizing it even more than I have as well. And there's so many things. I want to mention one other thing that's happening today,
please.
actually.
Yeah.
Um, and so bear in mind that they're still here, but this moment that we're in is just so powerful. But today on this full moon, so we're having an occultation of Mars, which is where the moon covers the face of the planet, right over the USA. Because let's face it, the USA is at the hub of a lot of this like
Yeah.
change because we're going through that Pluto coming up to our south node. We've had our Pluto return. We're still in it, really. But anyway, sorry, I want to just get it exact. So this occultation of Mars is not happening today. It's happening today. Nope. I needed the transiting Mars. Sorry. Today. Okay. At 26 degrees 59 minutes of Cancer, and that's opposing Neptune in Chariklo's chart, kind of saying, giving us an opportunity to see what's being hidden. That's what
Mhm.
lunar occult means. It means occult means hidden, secret. And then because the moon's blocked it out, we're kind of seeing these actions. I would not be surprised by this if we find out about a lot more deep corruption and things from the patriarchy under
Agreed.
this energy. And this occultation, the path of it goes like an eclipse because it literally acts like an eclipse, goes right across the whole USA, or every bit of it. It's
Wow.
I've never seen astrologically, kind of feel like those of us that kind of see these bigger picture energies were born for this moment to see that we are in this moment where it's the biggest opportunity and rise in human consciousness, in human history, basically. So that kind of takes me to I'm going to look a bit further ahead because I get down in the weeds, but we have, we've had Pluto. Pluto has already moved into Aquarius, but Neptune and Saturn are both about to move into Aries over the next few months as we record this. And these are all the slower, big change energy planets, right? Uranus is also about to move into Gemini, and the three are speaking to each other in what's called a mini grand trine. They're all working together. That's I know many astrologers that have looked back as far as they can on their software and things and have not found another time where this happened, let alone when we know about these planets in our civilization. So anyway, just to move us forward to not long away, about a year and a half, July the 5th, around that date. These things are big things, so I've picked that date. At that point, Mars and Uranus will be in Gemini. They will be on the moon of Chariklo's discovery chart. Neptune will be conjunct the Saturn of Chariklo's discovery chart. And Pluto will be conjunct Jupiter, Uranus, and Ceres in the discovery chart. And of course, that means they'll all be aspecting
Uh,
Mars, Chariklo, all the
that
things.
Star of David.
Her
Yeah.
chart, they'll all be activating that Star of David in such a big way. Add to that, Jupiter will be coming up to 6 Leo while all this is still active, because this mini grant, I picked a day, but that year,
Yeah.
this is all I kind of feel. And I still think we're probably going to have, more things to shake out, yes. But we have Uranus, radical change. Mars action, on the moon, the people, right? If you
Mhm.
want to look at it from a mundane astrology perspective, Neptune dissolving the old rules. Saturn in Capricorn tends to be very controlling, very my way or the highway, but Neptune is having none of that and saying, no, we've got to dissolve this. Pluto on this transforming what has come to light over the last decades. I could go on. Do you have any extra to add to that
I
kind of thing?
mean, to me, this chart is rich and chock full of the dynamics of beliefs connecting to conditioning of what's been learned connecting to beliefs, which means that
Mhm.
it's facilitating what we value, right? And
Yeah.
so I feel like this is really a jackhammer moment of one, Jupiter is balsamic to, Chariklo. It's
Hmm.
wanting to wrap up these more exclusive, not inclusive kind of beliefs that are more divisive. And that's really seen with that Mars and Libra opposing that Neptune. Neptune's wanting to come in again and dissolve this dynamic so we can get into the more Neptunian Piscean energy of timeless universal law, is how I would see that. When Libra is naturally expressed, that's giving, sharing, and inclusion. Aquarius is inclusivity. So it seems to
Hmm.
me that these transits, especially to Chariklo's discovery chart, is really where she's saying, this is what we are weaving. This is what we're giving grace to. This is what we're meant to get back to and to nurture and to foster and to facilitate. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of what came to mind. And to me, that's really about um remembering and relearning how to do this,
Mhm.
right? Uranus and Mars in that
Yes.
ninth house. It's
Yes.
it's coming back to this natural principle that we all carry within us on a soul level is how I would really view this. So,
Like the immutable natural laws, you could look at
yeah.
those, or just a mundane level. I've long kind of said that because as yes, a lot of this was centered on the crisis in the USA, but there's other countries too.
Hmm.
But this being on the nodes, I think, we're going to come through it. I think it's more likely to be kind of massive rewriting of the Constitution or lots of constitutional
Yeah.
amendments and whole and shoring up,
Ratification. Hmm.
yes, and shoring up the holes in the Constitution because it was written by the founders. Yeah, it was great, it was meant to be, but it was clearly not written for all people.
Correct.
It was not written by the people for the people of the people, but they did what they did because they were of their time. Now we're of a new time. And I think the emerging leaders are going, we had to see the holes in the constitution, if you like, that could be taken advantage of, and where we'd been a little bit lazy, about letting it happen as a
Yeah.
collective, to be able to say, oh, no, wait, we've got to write this story again. We've got to-
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
And
interesting.
so,
My really good friend Marty, who's a wonderful astrologer. She's the one who kind of brought that up to me about a year ago about ratifying the amendments and stuff. And I find
mhm,
it interesting that she planted that seed in my mind, and now I've had a few people talk about that. And I do think that this chart really does speak to that, like tapping back into our oneness and not
mhm.
divisiveness. And just like you said, I mean, I love the Gemini energy for this too, right? And then,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it just, I'm glad you brought that up.
But also, it could even, I think it's beyond what we can imagine in
Mm,
this moment, because like I said, this has not happened in human history before.
no,
So it could even look like no longer having one president. It could like look like rewriting it all. So So we have like a council at the
Yeah.
top with more of a talking stick, and then various councils underneath, and just rewriting the whole thing, how it works and how it's more inclusive and works together in
Yes.
community.
I
Yeah.
think with
But,
Pluto and Aquarius, I had my teacher, he told me a long time ago, or I heard him say this actually, he didn't tell me this, but he was talking about Pluto and Aquarius, and he said, things are going to speed up so fast, you're gonna have to put sandbags in your boots. And I was like,
oh,
and that's what I think that
yes,
you're hinting at is like, we don't even know because it hasn't ever been experienced.
yeah.
We know Aquarius accelerates things so much. And so, yeah, it's like,
And then all this fire and air is coming in as well, like
it
fast,
makes it makes me think
fast.
of when fires have those little tornadoes in them. That's like this energy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is. It's like this massive tornado of just shifting consciousness.
absolutely.
But look where the nodes are at that point in 2026. They'll have, there's an energy of Pisces is this energy of the chaos of, but also the chaos of creation. It's like, and then they're going to move back into Aquarius and start hitting all this Aquarius energy.
Yeah,
And by the time these nodes shift into Aquarius, everything's just going to look so different. I can't. I'm
agreed.
glad I'm alive to see it. I know the moment we're in is challenging and really
Yeah,
hard, but I feel it's my mission to encourage people to just step out of like the minutiae and the micro, and just acknowledge that we're all playing our part. We were born in this moment for this, and this is a change in human history that is unlike anything we've experienced in
absolutely.
written history
And
anyway.
I really think this next year is about, especially since Pluto and Mars have been, getting the oppositions and then the node
Hmm.
shifted, it really is about like needing to let go of the past, like the
Yes.
past way, the
Past traumas,
everything.
yes,
Yeah.
our
I even had my own experiences recently because I'm gonna have my nodal return in about, my nodes are at 6 degrees Virgo Pisces. But I even had, kind of some shocks over the last couple of weeks to wake me up around where I was still holding on that I didn't realize that I was. And like it induced some Virgo like kind of like, ooh, uh humility, also a little bit of shame. And my Capricorn was I was being judgmental of myself, but then I turned it around, right? Like I was
yeah,
like, wait, like I can't stay in that. And because that would be creating victimization within myself still. So having to change my train of thought of just acknowledging, yes, that's still there, but now we can do Virgo and self-improve through Capricorn, holding myself accountable. And I feel like this is a lot of that. That's why I'm bringing this up. I feel like a lot of people can be confronted that way right now with even those kind of little things in order to release, you know?
definitely. Well, my nodes are 0 Aries and 0 Libra South. So I've just had my reverse nodal return.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those weird people where if there's two calculations of the planetary nodes, by the way,
Hmm.
and my true nodes are at 0 Aries Libra, and my mean calculation, the average, is at 29 Pisces Virgo.
Wow.
So I'm feeling it too. Yeah. And I'm
Absolutely.
going through all of those, like, what's my purpose? What's my meaning? And letting go of all this old stuff and face confronting it. So, but I
Yeah.
want to go back. I'm glad you said that. So I just want to go back to just showing her discovery chart. What this also speaks of to me, with this beautiful shape, with this center, right? This is us here. And the healing comes from the inside out. We each have to do our own healing, not expecting anybody else out there to do it for us. Get the support where you can. But speaking of innovations, one, there's a form of therapy now called internal family systems that
Mhm.
most therapists are moving towards, sometimes called parts work. This is parts work. This is astrology. This is dealing with, the shadow parts of yourself that you've perhaps suppressed and things, doing your own healing, coming into deep acceptance of who you are, every single part of you, but also with awareness, not acting on trauma responses and things like that in future. Not expecting everybody else to kind of deal with your trauma response. You've We've got to do it
Yes.
ourselves, I'm afraid. Yeah, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
and I think that even Chariklo being in Leo, she's ruled
Mhm.
by the sun in Aquarius in the sixth house. That is totally speaking to what you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
Leo, whenever it is naturally expressed, I think Leo gets such a bad rep. There's a few signs
Oh,
that I feel like they get dumped on, just hammered. But it's
oh, Scorpio too.
yeah, Scorpio is one of those, or like the eighth house. Like I think the first
Yes,
time an astrologer saw my chart, she was totally shaming, and it was catalytic for me to be like, well, let me learn about this. Um,
yes.
but Chariklo being in Leo to me is really speaking to this principle of nurturing and having grace through self-love and dignity and through
Mm.
knowing that exactly what you said, the only way that we can heal, right? Because she is about healing is what I'm really gathering, is
Hmm.
through Leo, the strength of our own will. Sometimes you
And the
have to
heart,
have that, yes, you have to
the
have
heart of things.
that
Yeah,
Leo self-focus. Like you can't heal if you're not being self-focused in your own self-love and through the heart. And then,
yeah.
with it being ruled by the sun in Aquarius, it's helping us to liberate from these traumas through just improving, you know?
Oh,
I think this is so beautiful. Like
it
her
it
chart.
really is.
Yeah.
And a couple of other astounding facts about this chart. Chiron, the
Mm-hmm.
wounded healer. Most people use Chiron now. Looks like a key. Is
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk about where he is in her discovery chart in a minute. But Chiron moves within the orbit of Saturn, which was the known boundary of our visible planets until the discovery of Uranus. But Chiron traveled through the orbit of Saturn in 1992 at 6 Leo.
Oh,
Introduced, I
wow.
think it feels like me like he was saying healing is coming, you know.
Yeah. Well, I had
and
a
it and it
visual
is
as you
through
said
the
that. It
and
was
it
like,
is through the heart.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had this visual of like Chiron grabbing her hand and being like, okay, it's time. Come out.
Yes. Yeah.
Have the light be shown on you, Leo, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have chills.
I
So,
know, me too. And Leo does rule the heart. People forget that because it's the
yes.
sun, so it's the heart of our solar system. And there's many ways you could talk about it, but it's also the heart really is our central of us, the heart chakra. And so that speaks again to healing from the inside out, each of us, healing our own heart and bringing that outwards, and
Yeah,
then leading with love, the all the good
absolutely.
qualities of Leo, you know.
Yeah. And I think
What a
Leo gives the hero's journey of, I mean, it makes me think of children, of course. And it's like when we're younger, our parents are really supposed to be the ones that are facilitating on guiding us, or mirroring is another way I look at the Leo Aquarius, mirroring
Mhm.
something. But we can't get too dependent upon that. And I think that Caraclo and Leo is really saying and speaking to that the hero's journey of the only one who's going to get you where you need to be is yourself, right?
Yeah.
Through your
Yeah.
own strength of your own will. You've got to do this yourself. No one else is going to come and do it for you.
No,
You've got to do it for yourself.
I prefer to call it the heroine's journey because
I
I see it very associated with that inner journey, which is
yes.
the heroine's journey, which incidentally Maureen Murdoch wrote the book The Heroine's Journey. I think it was published in 1997
Oh
when
my
Miss Charles.
gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me I want to write this down because I know that's so because I want to put this on here for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I want to talk about where Chiron was on her um,
Okay.
discovery chart because we've talked about all this fire and air in the main planets. Neptune was in an Earth sign, but Chiron was in Scorpio, 2 degrees Scorpio, which I see as inner empowerment. This is where you've been disempowered and where you can step into your root and really heal the root and become empowered. And Chiron was at 2 Scorpio. Incidentally, just an aside, opposing Juno, who is, the goddess of women and children and sacred contracts and marriage and all
Mhm.
things like that. But if I go back to adding the chart here, just to confuse people and even more, but I just want people to be wowed about where we're at right now. I want to add another of my extras because I do believe all these dwarf planets and all the things have come into our consciousness to tell us something. And my computer's just going on a go slow, bear with me. Haumea, where are you? So there's a dwarf planet called Haumea, and she was discovered, I think, 2005. Anyway, she's right now she has also recently just changed signs for the next few years. And she goes retrograde. She's going back and forth over Chiron's discovery part. And how Maya literally, well, at least the astronomers, artists' representation of her looks like an egg with a red spot, like where the umbilical cord is
Yeah.
attached. And she's the goddess of the Hawaiian Islands, but she was the creator. She gave birth to Pele, all the gods of Hawaii, and she could regenerate. She would give birth to all these things and then get older and then regenerate. So she really is kind of this energy of regeneration and rebirth. But of course, that means because she's over here at 3 Scorpio, she's also going to be aspecting all these planets when they change signs and move to, those 4 degree ish marks, 4 or 5 degree. It's just,
So this is interesting. And I know we don't have that much time left, but um the asteroid I told you a little bit about her that I really work with have since I found astrology. I have an interesting story about very similar happenstance with you and Chariklo, but the asteroid is Sophrosine, and she's at uh 2 degrees Aquarius squaring this. Now, I want you
yeah.
to know that this asteroid is about temperance and soundness of mind and discernment, and she's very much linked with Neptune and Venus. So it's like
Mhm.
helping to transcend inner limitations of a Venusian nature, like our inner relationship to self, in order to experience compassion and love and empathy and to balance out um, the ways in which we do relationships with anyone or anything. And I love that she's squaring that Chiron. And how do you say that name of that?
Haumea,
Oh, man.
Haumea.
So I feel like this is really speaking to truly having this discernment
Hmm.
right now around how we move forward,
Yeah.
how we heal, where we want to
Yep.
put our effort into, what we need to liberate from or to jettison from within. That's keeping us from connecting with, I mean, I see this Chiron in the second house, our inner relationship to self,
Yeah.
like what do
Yeah.
you have to do to fortify this? So I don't know. I thought that was really cool.
Well, I will just mention one other quick thing, and I'll send you a link to the article in case anybody
Please.
wants to read it. Pluto and Haumea. So Pluto's moved into Aquarius for the next 20 years. Pluto and Haumea are squaring each other 13 times in this decade. It started in 2022 and it ends in 2028, all around those degrees, gradually moving forward. We're about to have the seventh, I think. I listed them all in this article, which does need a little bit of editing, but
So it's
I'll send
really
it
in
out.
these fixed energies, correct?
Yes, it's in these fixed energies. So there's resistance, but it's also saying we are birthing and transforming something major. So,
Absolutely.
you add that level to it. So I'm going to quickly go forwards. We're going the next square, March the 4th. So Pluto's at 2. Haumea's exactly on that Chiron. Then 2 a year, basically, until 2028. Then they've gone retrograde a little bit. So I'm going to whiz forward.
Yeah.
And you can see here they're at 5 degrees. So Pluto's
Wow.
on Uranus at that point and Jupiter. And then and then into 2028, Pluto is at 6 degrees, exactly opposing, and so is Haumea. And they are kind of
Wow.
I I could almost I also always think everything is a long process, but I kind of really think by the end of this decade, we're really kind of going to be pretty much out of this huge birth canal kind of transformation.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
almost like you've got to burn everything down in order for it to be
Mhm.
rebuilt. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
so that,
something will really be burned down, but some things will also just,
yeah,
be burned down by old ideas being burned down and things. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I
I
love
know.
your insights into all of this. I also love how you're tracking these energies, Louise. Like, I'll definitely have you come back on and us like do even more. I don't know. Even
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
thought of that whenever like when the nodes shift again and start aspecting all of these energies through conjunctions and oppositions. I want you to like come and talk
Mhm.
about this. You'll like I
Okay.
absolutely um
I know. I've got a Gemini moon opposing Jupiter, everybody, and my moon is conjunct the north node of Uranus because planets have nodes too.
mhm.
So I've got this mind at the moment that's just going.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
try and encompass it all, and I know it may be a lot to take in, but for everybody, I really kind of just almost like the central message of what I'm trying to convey is that at that moment of her discovery, she's been holding space for us to heal and write this whole new story of who we are as humans. And that brings me back to them being centaurs. Centaurs are half human, half animal. I think we're being asked to ultimately accept that we are animal as well as human and we are part of earth and connected to all that is everything. We don't need to fly off to Mars. Yeah, maybe go and discover some form of energy out in the planets, but we don't need to live anywhere else. This is our home. We are fully human. We're not ascending anywhere, we're descending into our humanness. I get so sick of the ascension word.
Me and you
Oh.
have talked about this before.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
I remember,
Yeah.
and not to be judgy, but I think that it becomes
No.
polluted and it takes away from the essence of what is, like in the present.
Yes.
when we get
Our
into all
con
these kind of
our
fluffy little
consciousness,
words, you know?
our consciousness is ascending, but it has been diluted. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. I just
Yeah.
really appreciate the work that you're doing and who
Thank
you
you.
are.
Thank
I
you.
also wanted to let everyone know that Louise is a prolific writer and really has a gift with expressing these energies. Um, Usually daily, I think I don't think you've ever missed a day that I've been
Um,
around and known you,
don't think
but
so.
Louise writes about the energies daily, and they are heartfelt, straight to the point. There's a message in there. There's a lot of depth, and she does it every day. I can't, like, oh my gosh. I used to write a forecast every week and do a video, and I quit doing that because I could only pick one or the other. And the fact that you have this self-determination to write every day blows my mind. But you guys should really check out her Facebook page. The
And Substack is where I write. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you did. You switched
I
it.
moved to Substack. Yeah.
And it's the
Mhm.
Cosmic Owl. I'm gonna put links for everything. Um,
Some of it's behind a paywall. It's only $7 a month
yeah,
to get all my daily writing. I have to,
yeah.
it takes me
You have to
ages,
make a
so I have to find
living.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Louise also has a couple of books that she's written that are really good. I know my oldest kiddo, Louise, wrote something for them in one a few years ago, and my oldest kiddo loves that book. My oldest kiddo is non-binary, and the way in which that Louise wrote this was very unbiased and it wasn't following a binary, so to speak. I think it was kind of the first time that someone had done this.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, you guys should check her out. She has things that she does. She classes, workshops, everything. And I'm just
And
really
as we record this, I do have my favorite thing to do ever. My Venus retrograde heroine's journey class starts February the 25th.
okay.
So if I could share a link with you for
You
that. Um,
absolutely can share that link. I think that people would love to connect in that way, Louise. Um,
I bring my shamanic work into that. So
I
it's an astro shamanic deep dive within. It's such a healing journey, and it's my sixth time of doing it, and
wow.
this one is just amazing. So
I love it. Yeah, we'll post all of the links. And again, thank you for coming on here.
oh, thank you for having me.
You're a great human. All right.
I
Well,
just feel like I've got all this stuff that comes through my
uh,
head and out my
no,
mouth.
you did. I learned a lot from you today, and I'm glad that you and I could jam out and really talk about this. So
Me
yeah, I
too.
appreciate it. So
Thank
until the
you.
next one, I will see everyone then.
Bye.